Hello and welcome. My name is Melody and today we are going to be making this adorable succulent inspired cocoon. I have seen succulents all over the place lately in art, watercolor, clay, you name it. Oh, the kawaii ones, so cute. And they come in every color of the rainbow. So if you have any stash yarn and you're curious about what might work in it, just give a Google on succulents and you'll see that they come in tons of colors. You might find something you already have at home. I'm going to be using a size 4 yarn. This is actually, I love this yarn in Ocean, and this one is Red Heart Super Saver in Redwood. Now some people are a little concerned about using Red Heart Super Saver for newborns, but after you give this a machine wash and dry, it's going to soften up so much. Now after that, you can decide on whether or not you want to hand wash or machine wash this. Hand washing does protect the integrity of your stitches, but with a 0 to 3 month old, sometimes the convenience of throwing it in the machine is just too alluring. And I think I found a good combination of how many leaves to have across. I actually wanted to take this up 6 rows, but it just looked a little too bushly and was just a little too distracting. The construction. I have a nice flat circle, but it does have a bit of a buckle because we went down to that G, but I really do like that tight gauge so little toes and fingers don't stick out. And then we have a little lip for the bottom of the pot. Then it climbs all the way up, cups over to form the lip. Then we pick up stitches with the green and do a modified picot crocodile stitch for our little succulent leaves. I am pretty pleased with it and I'm very excited to see it in use. If you have any questions about the pattern afterward, feel free to ask below. I would love to hear. And if you have any suggestions for something you'd like to see me make in the future, I'd love to hear about that too. Also, if you do not want to make this on your own, you'd rather just have it done, feel free to send me a message on my Etsy shop and I will be glad to make you a custom listing. Let's get started, shall we?
Okay, let's get started. We're going to need an H-hook and a few other implements. You're going to need a tape measure. This one will work just fine. I like a nice cloth one. We'll need some scissors and a yarn needle for weaving in ends at the end, but you won't need that for a few, so go ahead and set that aside. You might need some chocolate, just in case. Oh, and yarn. We're going to do some size 4 medium weight yarn for this. This is Aran weight. I love this yarn in Ocean and it's super soft. This one is Redwood from Red Heart Super Saver. And let's get started with a magic circle. So wrap your 2 fingers 2 times toward you, reach under, grab that yarn, pull it under, grab the working yarn with your hook and chain 3 times. I'm super fidgety. This is, once I get past the first row, it's all free sailing, but you got to be patient at this point. So chain 3. That counts as the first double crochet of the 12 that we are going to work around this magic circle. So yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull under 2, yarn over, pull under 2. And again for our third, insert, perfect. So yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull under 2, yarn over, pull under 2. And let's pick up some speed and finish out these 12 stitches. Please note that if you have any questions, you can always ask in the comments below, and the PDF pattern is available on my blog, melodycrochet.com. Just search Succulent Baby Cocoon. Okay, we're counting. 12 and we're good. Go ahead and cinch that magic circle closed by pulling the tail. Then you're going to count 1, 2, 3 stitches up and double crochet at the top right through. Just get under both of those legs and slip stitch. So yarn over and pull under all the strands on your hook. chain 2, just to keep the gap away. We're only chaining 2, and then double crochet at the base of that chain 2. This is going to be our first increase. There we go. It's right in there at the base. Now we are going to be increasing in every stitch around. So we had 12 stitches at the previous row end, and the next row end we'll have 24 stitches. There's 2 in that stitch. Now let's do 2 in the next stitch. And work all the way around until you have 24 double crochets in this row. We're getting close. We're starting slow. A lot of people are intimidated about crocheting in the round. It's super simple, so we're going to start this slow. This is a great pace for so many projects. But here's our last one. So 2 double crochets right there in the last one. Make sure you count 24 total. Slip stitch into the top of 3 stitches in, which means you are slip stitching into the top of the first double crochet. That's going to eliminate any gaps. So 1, 2, 3. Chain 2. For an increase, you're going to double crochet right in the base of that chain 2. And the next stitch just gets 1 double crochet, followed by the next stitch, which gets another increase, and that is our pattern. Increase, so 2 double crochets in 1 stitch, followed by 1 double crochet in the next stitch. In the end, you're going to have 36 stitches. So just complete this row, continuing on just like that. 2 stitches in 1 stitch, 1 stitch in the next. I'll meet you at the end. Okay, we're at the last one. Last stitch will be all by itself a single crochet. Count 1, 2, 3 stitches up and double crochet at the top of that first double crochet. Slip stitch in the top of that first double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet into the base of your chain 2 for the first increase, followed by 2 regular double crochet stitches. There's 1 all by itself and 2 all by itself. That's going to be our pattern. Increase, double crochet, double crochet. Next one is an increase, so 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and followed by 2 regular double crochet stitches. There's 1 and 2. At the end of this row, you'll have 48 stitches. So continue around, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. Alrighty, we're here. Slip stitch into third chain up, chain 2, double crochet at the base of your chain 2. And in the next 3 stitches this time, you are going to just do a regular double crochet. So there's 1, the next stitch 1, and then 1 after that, also 1. Followed by an increase, so 2 double crochets here. And then 3 regular stitches. At the end of this row, you're going to have 60 stitches. Increase, 1, 2, followed by 3 double crochets all by themselves. Take a look at that. When you're finished, see if it all looks even. Work yourself all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of this last increase row. Then we'll see what to do next. Okay, slip stitch into the third chain one more time. So right on top of that first double crochet, chain 2. And I want this little ridge. Let me show you what I did in a different piece here. I want that little lip right there. So we are going to work in the back loops only of the previous row. If you look at the top of any stitch, and make sure you're working in the front, not the back, but if you are looking at the front of your crochet stitch and you look at the top, you'll see a little V, and that has a front leg right there and a back leg right there, also referred to as the back loop. So you are going to insert your hook right between that V and toward the back and work a regular double crochet. So yarn over, insert right in the middle toward the back, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull under 2, yarn over, pull under 2. Again, just right in the middle of that V. Normally you work under both of those legs. We're going right in between both of those legs. Only for one row. It's a little fidgety at first, but it's so cute. It makes this little lip that looks like the bottom of the flower pot, and I just couldn't not. See, there it is. Yours should look just like that. Just see that little leg floating up front. Continue this all the way around, and I'll show you where to land that slip stitch at the end. Coming toward the end, you should have 60 total stitches. Count 1, 2, 3, slip stitch just like you have before. And that is our only back loops only row. After this we're going to do chain 2 and then double crochet at the base of the same stitch. That's just to eliminate any gaps. And then 1 double crochet in each stitch around for the entire row. Under both legs, just as you normally would. Continue this all the way around, and I'll show you where we slip stitch at the end. Should be 60 double crochets, and at the end here you're going to count 1, 2, and 3 just as you have, and slip stitch at the top of that first double crochet. The next row is going to be the same. I'm going to chain 2, double crochet at the base. That increase is eliminated because we are slip stitching in the third chain, even though we only chain 2. So we are going to not have a gap, and we are not going to have an increase. You're still only going to have 60 stitches across. We've come to the end of that row. You've counted 3, 1, 2, 3. And let's look at this for a second. We're just going to measure. Now hopefully we are measuring just under 10.5 inches. It's going to bloom just a bit, but it should measure about 10 inches. So we're going to pull out that tape measure. This is where a flexible tape measure comes in handy. And perfect. Yay! Okay, hopefully yours is also measuring about 10 inches. Now let's measure the opposite direction. And it looks like I'm getting about, well, just a little over ½ an inch per row. We need to take this to 17 inches tall. So at 8 rows in, that tells us about how many rows we are going to need. I just like an idea before I get started. Keeps me motivated. Now, go ahead and take yours to 17 inches tall just by double crocheting 1 time in each stitch for the necessary rows to get to 17, and then cuff over 3 inches. And it needs to be even. The top of your cuff should be where 2 rows have met. Let me show you that. There's 3 inches. Make sure it's all the way around. And I like to use a little marker. So the top of my lip is where 2 rows are meeting. And I can put a little marker right inside. I start at the seam and back. And I make sure it can go in one hole and out another. There we go. That keeps that lip up top so it doesn't turn on you. And I'll put in about 4 of these. This isn't 100% necessary, but I really like to do it just to make sure that I am not turning this cuff while I'm adding my green yarn. And I just take them out after I add the first row of green. There we go. Now make sure we're adding the green at the back over the previous seam, just to keep things pretty. And then get your green yarn, and you're going to do a slip knot. So take your yarn and wrap it around your finger toward you 2 times. Take the top loop and fold it over the first. Now take the new top loop and put it all the way over your finger. Insert your hook, pull tight, and let's insert a standing single crochet. So you're going to insert your hook, pull up a loop, yo, and pull under all the loops, well, both of the loops on your hook. Now you're just going to do a single crochet all the way across, right around that little lip that we made. So this is the new top of our cocoon. Double crochet all the way around. I'm sorry about that. Single crochet all the way around. This will give us something nice and neat to work our crocodile stitch into. Continue working. Now let's check our work. It's looking nice and even. Go ahead and continue all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. Okay, now finishing up, you should have 60 single crochets, and now you're going to slip stitch into the top of that standing single crochet from the very beginning. There we go, and now we start our crocodile stitches. Chain 4. This is the foundation row. There's 3, that's our first double crochet, and there's 4 for a chain 1. Skip a stitch and 2 double crochets into the next stitch. This is super simple, but these are going to be the posts that you crochet your little petals around. Chain 1, skip a stitch, 2 double crochets into the next stitch. We are just setting the foundation. 2 double crochets into the following stitch, chain 1, and that's the pattern all the way around. 2 double crochets into 1 stitch, chain 1, skip a stitch. You'll end up with what I call double crochet clusters, and you should have 30 at the end of them, each row. So that will be 60 double crochets and 30 chain 1 spaces. Here we go. We're getting at the end of the row here. Our second double crochet in this chain space. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and I'm going to skip 2 stitches because it looks like I added a stitch somewhere. So I need to do my last double crochet at the base of that chain 4 so that creates my last cluster, and then slip stitch into the 3rd chain of that chain 4. Awesome. Now we are going to start our first row of crocodile stitches. Chain 3. This is your first double crochet around the left side post of your first double crochet cluster. Then we need 4 more. So 4, 3 double crochets left, and now 2, And here's the last double crochet around this post. We need to do a picot, which will mean chain 2, 1, 2, and then count 3 stitches back and slip stitch into the top of that last double crochet, just to give it a little pointy area. And to slip stitch, just insert under those 2 legs and then yarn over and pull under everything on your hook. Turn your work completely and 5 double crochets around the right hand leg of the same double crochet cluster. There's 1 and here's 2. It's a little fiddly on a table. It's so much simpler in your lap. Don't worry about this. I will look like I am lumbering. There we go. 3. Here's 4. And 5 will complete your first petal. Now we need to skip a double crochet cluster in between each leaf so that we can have them offset in the end. So skip a cluster and 5 double crochets around the left hand post of your next cluster. Keep note that we are working the opposite way that we usually crochet. We are working toward the right as far as the posts. There we go. 5 double crochets. Picot. After you take a peek, make sure it's 5. And picot, so chain 2. Count 3 stitches back and double crochet in the top of that last, slip stitch into the top of that last double crochet. I'm getting ahead of myself. Turn your work. 5 double crochets around the right hand post of the same double crochet cluster. It's really exciting once you see the leaves starting to take shape. And there's 5. Now skip a double crochet cluster to your right and put 5 double crochet clusters around the left hand post of the next double crochet cluster. There we go. 1. 2. And 5. Now picot. 1, 2, slip stitch back in the top of that double crochet. And turn your work. 5 double crochets on the right hand post of this same double crochet cluster. Ooh, and we are coming up on ending our 3rd petal. Let's take a peek at it. Okay, they should be taking shape. They shouldn't be overlapping because there is a double crochet cluster in between each leaf. Just lay them flat and you'll start to see them taking shape. Now continue on all the way around and I'll show you where to land that slip stitch at the end of the row. Okay, I finished my last leaf, the 15th of the row, and now I'm counting 1, 2, 3 stitches out from the first chain 3, and I'm slip stitching right in there. It's super fidgety for me, but we are going to make it happen. Awesome! Now we are going to do the next foundation row, and remember it's going to be offset, so we are going to slip stitch right into the middle of the post below. Perfect. Chain 3 and double crochet into that same gap. Chain 1 and double crochet 2 times into the middle of the petal. Should chain 1, but I'm not. Chain 1 and double crochet 2 times into the gap between those 2 leaves. Chain 1, double crochet 2 times in the middle of the next leaf, and that's what you do all the way around. Once again, you will have 30 double crochet clusters to work in. I'll meet you at the end of this row. We are going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain of that original chain 3. And let's start our next row of crocodile stitches. You're going to be working in the cluster between 2 leaves of the previous row. Just make sure you are. It should, if you ended it when I did, it should be natural, but just make sure you don't want them stacked. And then 5 double crochets around the post of that cluster that you're working into, left hand post. Picot. And turn your work. And we're going to do 5 double crochets around the opposite leg of the same double crochet cluster. So we're working around the right hand post. There's 2. Whoops. And here's 5. You're going to skip the cluster that's over the previous row's leaf and work 5 double crochets around the post, the left hand post of the double crochet cluster after that. So right between those leaves. You just want to make sure that you're not working above a previous row's leaf, otherwise you're going to end up with them stacked. Not that that's not pretty, it's just going to look a little odd if you go back and forth. So just skipping every other cluster. There's 5, picot, turn your work, and 5 double crochets around the next post in the same cluster. Whoops. And this ends our second leaf. You are going to make sure, just give a little tug, lay it all flat, make sure you're offset, and you're going to continue on like this for 4 total rows of leaves. And then I will meet you back here after you complete your 4th row of leaves and show you how to finish this up. Just pulling on those picots, making sure that everything's landing nicely and stacking well. And see you in a sec. Now, we're going to finish this. So I am ending my last leaf. There's my picot. Forgive the lighting, it got late. 5 double crochets around that last post. I'm getting excited, you can tell. There's nothing like finishing an object. Awesome! Slip stitch into the 3rd chain of that original chain 3. Now let's do some finishing. Whoop, there we go. Slip stitch for, well, a standing double crochet right into the middle of that unused post behind where you're working. See that one right there over my finger? Slip stitch in so you could do a standing double crochet. Perfect. Chain 1, the single crochet into the middle of that leaf. Chain 1, single crochet in between in that cluster. Chain 1, and single crochet, chain 1 all the way around. This finish gives it such a nice edge and lays everything on top down and kind of takes away the slack from the top of the crocodile stitch. At the end, you're just going to slip stitch into the top of that standing single crochet. It's a little fidgety. That small hook on worsted weight, it does make for some slipping on my part. Now fasten off. I didn't do a very long tail here. I don't plan to. We have ways of working around that. And let's see, after you pull the thread through, let's take a peek here. Please note that if you do choose to machine wash and your petals start to stand up, you just lay them flat like this. You can dampen them, maybe spritz them with some water or just touch a damp towel to the petals and lay them out like I am right now. Pull on your little picots and they will dry really, really fast, good as new. And they are just soft as can be after a wash and dry. And let's weave in that end, shall we? Okay, I'm going to grab a yarn needle. Looking inside, see how bumpy it is? It's great for weaving in ends. Nobody's ever going to find it. Thread. Weave in somewhere close to your fasten off edge. Pull all the way through and take the needle off the yarn. Then weave your needle in close to where you pulled out of that. Then rethread. And pull through. And you are all set. Thank you so much for watching this with me. I really enjoyed making this. I hope you did too. I would love to see some pictures if you do choose to make them. I'm going with the hashtag of Succulent Baby Cocoon. Thanks and take very good care. See you next time.